was sent this article and it's kind of interesting. Marriage collapse, absent fathers, unraveling Christianity in growing U.S. crisis. So Christianity is on the decline and they are blaming it on marriage collapsing and absent fathers. Let's get into it. A nonprofit organization that works with churches nationwide to develop stronger families has released a study of churchgoers that suggests a collapse in marriage and resident fatherhood is fueling widespread loneliness and the unraveling of Christianity in the U.S. Communio conducted a survey of 19,000 Sunday church attendees while they were attending services at 112 evangelical, Protestant, and Roman Catholic churches. While it found just 22% of regular churchgoers are lonely, study noted, a substantial gap between married, cohabitating, and single Sunday churchgoers in feelings of loneliness. Single churchgoers were more than 3 times more likely to feel lonely. We are told that you should not prioritize getting married and having a family, that you should instead prioritize climbing the career ladder and maximizing your income. I don't particularly think that's fair. You need to eat and it costs money to eat. So people are prioritizing careers because they have to eat. So whatever. What we are seeing in the study is that the net effect of all that is the crisis of loneliness, that the most lonely people walking around in our churches and our communities are actually not the elderly or widows. It's men and women in their 30s who in every other time period, almost every other decade before this century, would have been overwhelmingly likely to be married. They're not today, and as a consequence, they are also among the loneliest Americans. Nearly 2/3 of the men and women in their 30s who never married were considered lonely. And remember, this is of people that are in the church currently. Communio's study comes in the wake of the Surgeon General advisory that warned of an epidemic of loneliness in the U.S., and it could be as deadly as smoking. DeGan said most churches are not doing enough to address the marital and relational crisis afflicting younger people, noting that the study also found that 85% of all churches in the U.S. report spending nothing each year on marital and relationship ministry. He also pinpointed the effect of many churches failing to address the effects of widespread premarital sex and rampant porn addiction. When sex is cheap, meaning it's undervalued and unvalued, it ultimately causes capstone marriage, which is the delay in decisions to get married. This is a long article. There'll have to be a part 2. So this is part 2. I'm just going to try to read this without editorializing right now. We live in a weird time when we have this strangely, paradoxically puritanical world where sex is all around us, but we really don't want to talk much about it in certain ways. So DeGay said, noting that the average age children are first exposed to porn is now around 10 or younger. Sex is everywhere except in our churches, and by that I mean being able to talk in a healthy way about sex within Christian marriage and what is authentic, life-giving sexual relationships and what marriage looks like. The study also suggested the collapse of fathers in the home amid declining marriage rates is fueling the decline in Christian faith in the U.S. Of all Sunday church attendees, 80% across all demographics were raised in a continuously married home with both biological parents. A report by Pew Research Center and the General Social Survey published in September found a surge of adults leaving Christianity to become atheist, agnostic, or nothing in particular. The study predicted that if the number of Christians under 30 abandoning their faith accelerates beyond the current pace, adherents of the historically dominant religion of the U.S. could become a minority by 2045. The collapse of resident fathers through the collapse of marriage is at the heart of the unraveling of Christianity. The growth of the religious nuns is unlikely to stabilize until 25 to 30 years after married fatherhood stops its decline. Renewal requires new strategic action. I'm glad that they are, looking into things, looking into why people are lonely. I just don't think that they are hitting the nail on the head. I don't know if they're actually asking open-ended enough questions to gather actual information because, there are many reasons why people are leaving Christianity. And the people that they should be talking to are the religious nuns, the atheists and agnostics who are raised in the church. And it's not, one simple thing. It's not one reason. It's the hypocrisy. And yes, there is rampant sex in the church. It's just there. It's also a bunch of hypocrisy. It's not that people are not talking about it. It's just a bunch of hypocrites that sweep it under the rug or, just ignore it. And fathers might be in the home, but they also need to start talking about the current role of fathers, and are they actually pulling their weight and doing what women are asking men to do as far as helping out in the household. So there are many other angles to address, but you guys can go ahead and chime in and tell me what you think.